Good evening, everybody. Today we will be learning about peace security, like how did peace and security have played a crucial role in maintaining international space in order, and we will learn about how the disarmament process and arms control have brought up during Cold War era, and how did the countries have handled it during the Cold War and the post-Cold War with certain treaties, which would encourage the denuclearization or non-proliferation or even the disarmament, like how the arms race is stipulated at a fast and growth, which was kind of having a security threat to all the nations that are existing in the world, especially with the powerful countries coming together and fighting for a war, or the arms race, which has created the countries to divert their economic spending to collecting or going for an aggravated arms race. So this in a way we will understand how the peace and security has been tried to be balanced between the superpowers, and how it has been maintained overall. So first, let us understand the arms control measures. So arms control or the arms race is nothing but when there was post World War II, and the USA has dominated the international space for a certain period of time. But later on, with nuclear testing of by the Russia, then the bipolarity world structure or world order have come into the picture. So this has led to two countries going for an arms race, which had raised alarms all over the world, because the powerful countries, they all understood that what had happened during the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, with the arms race in picture, and that would be very bibliographic. I mean, that would be very on a huge scale, that it would cause destruction. So, in a way to avoid any such destructions, these countries have come up with bilateral treaties or multilateral treaties as such, in order to bring control, in order to bring stability in the world in terms of accumulating weapons, be it nuclear weapons or any defense arm, UAVs or missiles, anything as such. So this could be seen in terms of the treaties that they have been signed. So one of such first treaty is Antarctic Treaty, which had been signed in 1959. So this is nothing but basically the Antarctic area, the Antarctica continent, should be free of any military use, should be free of any nuclear testing, should be free of dumping of any nuclear waste. So this should be controlled, and this should be followed up by all the countries. So basically, this was signed by 26 states, where they declared that this Antarctic Treaty or the Antarctica region should be declared free of any nuclear weapons, free of any weapons, and there should not be any dumping of waste in that continent. So this is how the first treaty of arms race have or control measure have come into the picture. Now, next one as such is hotline agreement. So this hotline agreement is nothing but a direct radio or a wire telegraph between Russia and USA. So basically between Moscow and Washington. This is to ensure that the head of the both countries would be talking to each other in terms of crisis. So they'll communicate first, then only they'll take any further step. If not, the communication hasn't worked on. So they won't retaliate immediately. So this is to stop the huge destruction that it might lead to. So that's why Hotline Agreement was signed in 1963. And the second agreement in 1971 was also provided for satellite communication circuits. So another such treaty after Hotline Agreement is Limited Test Ban Treaty. So Limited Test Ban Treaty is nothing but it was signed between, it's a trilateral treaty. So it was signed between USA, UK, and USSR in Russia. So it was initially signed as a trilateral, later joined on by many countries. So it came down to multilateral treaty. So this treaty is nothing but it bans nuclear weapons, the testing of nuclear weapons in atmosphere, in outer space, in underground, or in underwater or any other such environments. But as it is in the name itself, like limited test ban treaty, so or also called as partial PTBT, partial test ban treaty. So it is initially does not proliferate whole, so this has still made this underground testing viable. So that's why this 1963 treaty also did not ban the total usage or total production or testing of nuclear weapons. So that's why the treaty was not as successful as it was meant to be. And so now this limited test ban treaty bans testing of nuclear weapons on in underground water, then in space, in outer space, and in any environment. So in any open area, so it is not allowed to test any nuclear testing as a part of this nuclear limited test ban treaty. Then another such treaty is Outer Space Treaty in 1967. So this Outer Space Treaty is nothing but the states shall not place any nuclear warheads or any weapons of mass destruction in Earth's orbit. So, this in a way prohibits states from installing any such nuclear weapons on moon or any celestial bodies or stationing them in outer space by any satellite or any outer space stations. So this, like, why do you think you should have got this doubt? Like, why can't the countries hold up nuclear weapons in the outer space when they where they can target their enemy nations? It is because of this treaty. So, Outer Space Treaty of 1967, it bans installation or usage or placing of any nuclear warheads in outer space. Then a treaty of Tlatelolco. So this is Tlatelolco is nothing but the Latin America should be nuclear free zone. So this had happened in 1967 again. So this was signed by 22 states. So what does this treaty says is the Latin American states, which is basically we can call it backyard of USA, they should not acquire any nuclear weapons. They should not allow for the storage of any nuclear weapons. They should not allow for the deployment of any nuclear weapons in this area. So basically, this area has to be kept nuclear weapon free. That is what Treaty of Tlatelolco. And uh, now coming to security, security could be human security, national security, and this security implies freedom from threats. Human security means freedom from fear. These concerned nations try to prevent war threat through a bilateral agreement or a long-term treaty for not taking any military action against each other. So there are different notions of traditional security and human security. I think I had missed some slides in between, so I'll continue as such. So what happens after then? Treaty of Pelindaba. Treaty of Pelindaba is nothing but Africa should be free from any such nuclear weapons, deployment of nuclear weapons, accumulation of nuclear weapons. So the same treaty, just like Treaty of Tlatelolco, which deals with Latin America, the Treaty of Pelindaba deals with uh, Africa. Then a later part comes as Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, 1967, where in 1963 or 64, China had got the status of nuclear weapon state, and this Non-Proliferation Treaty have come into picture where it abolishes if the member countries, those who have already possessed nuclear weapons, they can transfer this technology to countries who are signatories to this treaty, and the technology transfer should be done to these member countries. So that is the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. India is not a member, neither signed nor ratified, because this stops on vertical proliferation. So rather than the horizontal proliferation, and also it does not ban total ban of proliferation of weapons, because the powerful countries are still capable. They are still not restricted from gathering or production of any new nuclear warheads. Whereas the countries who weren't declared as a nuclear weapon state, they should not conduct any nuclear tests, and they should rely upon the help of other member countries in times of war. So this has been very impartial on part of newly developed nations, because already the powerful, already developed countries have had this to be termed as a nuclear weapon states, where the underdeveloped or the developing nations haven't got the status yet. So this kind of restricts their development and their notion to gather the weapons. So this is how the things that's why India did not sign for this. Then, comprehensive testament treaty had also been held for the nuclear proliferation program, and meanwhile, the use of chemical weapons and biological weapons were also banned in times of warfare. So, if there's a war going on between any two countries or instigated by any one of the country, then they cannot use the destruction. They cannot destroy the enemy states either through biological warfare or chemical warfare. So this is how all these treaties help control the arms and make a world a better place. So, but this has been, and the latest treaty has been, it's from a civil society. So, Nina Tanhenwal. So, this happens to be like total ban on testing, total ban on production and all, or total ban on accumulation of nuclear weapons. I think it's in 2017 or 2020, I'm not sure. So, uh, you can go online and verify the dates. Then security. So how does the countries, excuse me, how do you say that the countries have been providing the security or an ample amount of security? So this is nothing, but it is not just from other country. This could also be a human security issue. The concerned nations, how do they do it is, if they want to try to prevent the war threat, they can get into a bilateral agreement or a long-term treaty for not taking any military action against each other. This is how the security of one nation coming forward for a peaceful agreement or an abandonment of the war-like situations by getting into an agreement. So there are two notions of security. First one is traditional security and human security. Traditional security is priority to protection of nation's territory, preservation and sovereignty. So there are four components to this traditional security. So few of such components are like nation may choose to surrender in case of war, prevent war through defense. They may try balance of power, and they do the alliance building with the nations. So in traditional security, where it is the priority of the member countries to protect themselves from an enemy state, and their main agenda is to preserve themselves and the sovereignty so that they will be independent of an external force of the country that is looking to occupy them. So this is how the traditional security works. And the traditional security, there are four components. So they could be seen as they choose to surrender in case of war, and they can also prevent war through defense. See, always war cannot be stopped by both countries going for war, but they can also be management. They can also prevent war-like situations through diplomatic route. And also, they may try this balance of power notion, where if they think that a powerful country has been trying to take over the control, and where the current member could think that they have been exerting too much force on them, but that thing could be balanced with the help of other member nations, which help them balance the power tactics in the international space. And also, they in a way to do the balance of power, they also make alliances with the other nations. This can help them prosper in international space and have support in terms of volatile situations. Then human security can be seen in terms of as a global security. This is a point of non-traditional point of view of providing security. Then this concept has emerged in 90s. So this concept has been invariably a response to global warming, international terrorism, health epidemics, such as AIDS, swine flu, coronavirus. So all these things have helped this state to form an order of this non-traditional security point of view. Then UNDP. UNDP is Human Development UNDP Development Report 1994. This says that fear from want and freedom from fear. Freedom from want, freedom from fear. Then human security in turn is an human security, and they are both important, and they cannot be ignored by any choice. So now let us talk about nuclear proliferation and arms race. Nuclear proliferation is very important. India has been a strong exponent of proliferation. So initially it had started one of the founding members to help understand how this structure works in international space. Then nuclear weapons uh, are nothing but the weapons which release by splitting atoms and joining the small particles. So this could be seen in some of the metals, like if there's a fission, then this could be seen in uranium, plutonium, and enriches. So the hydrogen bomb and the rush cushion reaction, sorry, hydrogen bomb and the fusion reaction. Then this could be seen like first one, atom bomb is fission reaction, where uranium and plutonium, the isotopes kind of enriches this blast. Then, in terms of hydrogen bomb, there happens a fusion reaction. Then, if let us talk about what is Manhattan Project. Manhattan Project is nothing but USA developing this missile, atom bomb missile, in USA. This uh, is known as Manhattan Project. This could also be an important MCQ. Then, with after the Manhattan Project, the USA during Second World War, it had bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. This basically has turned out, they turned the faith and of USA by providing the or by sending a message to the world that they own this bomb and they should be aware of the USA. Then nuclear age 1945, this had led for the invention of mass destruction weapons. Then nuclear proliferation, the quantitative and the qualitative increase in nuclear weapons is known as nuclear proliferation. Then vertical nuclear proliferation is manufactured by only five powerful nuclear uh, countries such as USA, UK, Russia, France, and China. So these five countries are the powerful countries where manufacturing of nuclear weapons is to be said of. Then the horizontal proliferation could be seen through Pakistan, North Korea, Iran, and Israel. So now let us, if we talk about how the countries have got these nuclear weapons over a period. So this can be seen in USA had monopoly until 1949. You all know about this because after bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the USA, as no other country had nuclear weapons, so USA was exerting its monopoly. It was enjoying its power. It was enjoying its power because there were no other countries who had tested nuclear weapons or who owned any nuclear weapons. So this kind of gave the superficial power to United States, and it kind of sent a message. Okay, Hiroshima and Nagasaki is not a retaliation to Pearl Harbor of Japan by USA, but rather it is a power showdown of USA to letting the world know that they are unstoppable, they are indestructible. They are the greatest power in the world. So now the world runs as per them. So this is like power showdown. So the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombing could have been avoided, but USA wanted to do it anyways, just to show the world that they own these things and they are the nuclear weapon state, and the other countries should be beware of them. Then in 1949, once the USSR also had tested its nuclear weapons, the USA had lost its monopoly. Now it is the second nation which possesses nuclear weapons. So 1949, the Cold War has officially started in 1950 until the disintegration of USSR in 1991. So this is how the Second World War has led to the monopoly of USA, then Russia joining the arc of being the second most powerful nation, uh, which had led to the um, which had led to destruction of the world. Then in 1952, Britain also had acquired nuclear weapons. Then in 1960, it was France. Then 1964, it was China. So the nuclear club. So what is nuclear club? Nuclear club is countries of the five countries is nuclear club, and the Pokhran 1 in India, the Smiling Buddha operation, where the testing of nuclear weapon has happened. This took place in 1974. So this is how the India got to be good or tested its first nuclear weapons. But officially, with success of 1998, Pokhran 2 during Atal Bihari Vajpayee, it had brought real recognition to Indian nation. So since then, the uh, the richer countries have been visiting India. So then, according to CIPRI, so CIPRI is nothing but okay, arms race. Arms race had started with USA's experiment with thermonuclear bomb in 1952 and USSR in 1953. So now what happened here is the technological advancement have led to ICBMs which can destroy the target across the countries. So now with the improvement in technology, the sophistication, these weapons have been used either for positive or negative purposes, and there has to be a control on accumulation of such weapons. And also, in spite of living in a party in house, poverty, malnutrition, and world continues to waste the resources on arms exporting. So, in a way, this arms race, even though the countries are thriving to establish or thriving to stand alone in the nation, this was not successful enough. Why? Because there was prevailing poverty, there was illiteracy, and the malnutrition was there in the third world countries. So the countries kind of waste their funding, which was from the customer, and they shifted to Binami companies. Then SIPRI is nothing but Stockholm. International Peace Research Institute. So this was basically conducted in 1985, and 13K weapon, 14K, near to 14K nuclear weapons have been recognized. Then expenditure on nuclear weapons could be seen in 2018 and 2019, where they saw the 88% of deployment, sorry, 88% of expenditure by the Western nations have existed. So this is how the arms race have in a way turned or paved way for exploitation, paved way for denial of the development tactics, denial of development prospects to the citizens of India, where they were invested in collecting, doing this arms race. Then all nuclear weapons have second strike capability. Then the powers like MAD, they have MAD, mutually assured destruction, that they are capable of destroying each other fully and would never go on war. Let's imagine with the amount of weapons that USA and Russia hold. Now imagine them going for war. Ridiculous, right? Because it's not just the two countries that it would be destroyed, but rather, see what had happened during Cold War. The wars were going on in third geographical entity, right? The war was not literally going on USA and UK, sorry, USA and Russia. The war was going on in some other third world country. Just rather that this USA and UK had been helping the uh, or giving support to the smaller nations. So in a way, what happened? Eventually, it is a loss. It is a loss of this powerful, the smaller countries, which have been misused, or which have been treated very unwell by the powerful countries like USA and USSR. So, so if you think that in spite of having such sophisticated weapons, in spite of having or be able to conduct any war, now imagine these two countries going to war. So this would destroy the whole world rather, because because during the arms race, both the countries have accumulated a lot of weapons. So now even if they do go for like war-like situations or create tension, that would create the imbalances in the world. The other countries who are not at war had to take sides because they cannot be left alone by the superpowers. That is the reason that NAM was formed during the Cold War. I hope you all understood like how it has to be interlinked, right? So all the nuclear powers have second strike capability. Like what do they do? They have a nuclear doctrine. What is second strike capability? Like if a country strikes my country, then I can retaliate 100% stronger than that. Other than that, if there's a warlike situations, I cannot initiate the nuclear weapons first. Okay, that is what second strike capability. Then the superpowers have MAD, which is mutually assured destruction. That um, if they think that this arms race has been continuing for so long and there's been any skeptics that the country had accumulated more, so they can sit together and destroy uh, the possession or accumulation of certain weapons, which they think that they are destructive in nature. So that can be done by this superpowers. And see, superpowers, I'm talking in the notion of US and USSR, okay, not the multilateral world that we have today. So this is also, they are capable of destroying each other fully, so they would never go on war. Now the how the world has been created, instead of balance of power, it had led to balance of terror. How? Because I've accumulated, as an USA have accumulated so much of weapons. Then Russia has also accumulated so many weapons. Now, instead of maintaining this balance of power, there comes the notion of balance of terror. So, where the destruction could be controlled by each other. So, this is how the arms race, disarmament, um, this power structure has been going on. Then the disarmament is nothing but elimination of arms. It's in the name itself, disarmament. So disarmament is nothing but elimination of arms and weapons. So what happens in this disarmament is it is basically the reduction or elimination of certain arms for the purpose of ending arms race. Let's suppose the countries have been continuously accumulating new arms, which keeps the world at a threat. Then these countries, they can go for the elimination, for the reduction of certain arms for the purpose of maintaining that arms race. Then banning of particular weapons and aim to prevent accidental outbreak of war. Let's suppose they have come with um, very significantly destructive weapon. Then if they think that this weapon could cause destruction of both of the parties, including the world, then they that will be restricted. Then 1816, the Tsar of Russia proposed to Great Britain for reduction of all types of armed forces. So, in Hague Conference 1899, to outlaw, they have created a law where it cancels out or it calls off the deadly weapons. Then, Second Hague Conference happened in 1907. So, this has been a resolution uh, or or a document to recommend this disarmament. Then failed disarmament efforts. See, not everything is successful, right? In a multipolar world like this, and with various countries having different power structure, you cannot simply deny the fact that this has been always successful, but rather there are little flaws to the notion. So first, this could be seen in Treaty of Versailles 1919. So what happened in Treaty of Versailles? It imposed enormous amount of abuse. It exploited Germany enormously. So this has been the 1919 Treaty of Versailles Act. Then League of Nations 1920. This is an Article 8 of League of Nations will has called for disarmament. Then Washington Naval Conference in 1921-22. Britain, USA, France, Russia, and Italy. Then Geneva Protocol is also very important for MCQ. So Geneva Protocol is nothing but this was signed in 1925. This is nothing but use of poison or use of poison gas, biological elements to warfare. Then Geneva Plan, uh, World Disarmament Conference in 1932. So this has been conducted by League of Nations at Net Geneva, and it got failed due to French and Germany rivalry. Then Four Power Declaration by 1945, where USA, USSR, Britain, China have signed a declaration to bring to the practical agreement and practical notice of amendments in post-war. Then Atomic Energy Commission and UNGA had set up this AE, Atomic Energy and Commission. So this will look into the current affairs and the reading material of the students. Then Atomic Energy Commission in 1946 has been set up. This commission. See, this will be an what I meant to say is this will be true correct study material if you follow it, especially with international relations have been the center of any competitive exams. So this will provide you with enormous bullet points so that you can make notes and revise them properly. So, Atomic Energy Commission was established in 1946. So, this has been set up by United Nations General Assembly. So, then what is Baruch Plan? Baruch Plan is to curtail the nuclear weapons by Bernard Baruch. This has been a proposal set up by United Nations Atomic Development of Research, which will not allow single country to conduct this nuclear research. Then Gromyko Plan, 1946. This is a counter to Baruch Plan. This is by Soviet ministers. Then this leads to appropriate reduction of conventional arms and trades. So what happened in Baruch Plan is curtail nuclear weapons, but Grimco Plan is nothing but to reduce the weapons like slowly and mostly the conventional arm trades, etc. Then another conventional armament had happened in 1947. This is by United Nations Security Council. Again, you have to remember all these things, which is by who? Either it is by United Nations General Assembly or United Nations Security Council, which set up this to find ways to reduce the size of non-nuclear armament. So this is a commission on conventional armament 1947. Then United Nations Disarmament Commission 1952. So what happened to this nuclear disarmament program? So this had led to examine and make recommendations on disarmament race to follow and evaluate uh, and to follow and evaluate that disarmament program, but it got failed when Soviet withdrew from this United Nations Disarmament Commission. So later, which this commission was dissolved. Then Atoms for Peace Plan. So Atoms for Peace Plan, this had started in 1953. Basically, the Eisenhower proposed to establish an international pool of feasible materials for peaceful purposes. This, in a way, led to the creation of IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. This is headquartered in New York, and this was created in 1956. Then in 1955, another such event had happened, which is Open Skies Protocol proposal. So what happens in this? It had happened in Geneva Summit. So America proposed for inspection by air of Soviet and US territory. So what happened in this thing is Open Skies proposal is nothing but through through aeroplanes or any manned UAVs or anything, if these countries have said to have come to an agreement, then so let's suppose agreement had been with USA and USA and USSR. Now USA will have this authority to check Russia's weaponry by not literally landing in the nation, but through air, they can look down and analyze how many weapons or how many machinery that they hold. But it was not signed by both the parties, so this agreement is failed. Then Rapaki plan in 1958, Adam Rapaki, the foreign minister of Poland, he proposed to establish a nuclear zone of free of nuclear weapons in Central and Eastern Europe, and later to be adopted as an establishment of denuclearized zone. So this is how there has been many restrictions. Then another one such thing is biological weapons convention. So the biological weapons convention, this had happened in 1972. So where the first multilateral disarmament had happened. and it caused a ban on developing production and stockpiling of more than one of stockpiling of biological weapons. So in this conventions, more than 155 uh, states acceded USA and USSR, but did not want to give up their type of mass destruction weapons so that they can push the arms control. This has been a negative. So the arms control, as I've said earlier, that I have missed something in the beginning. So first, let us understand it is nothing but regulating arms for the purpose of creating military stability. So according to Colombia and Wolf, the arms control measures can be compared on two. So they are arms reduction, which means it implies mutually agreed upon sets of arm levels for the nations involved in the agreement. Any reduction in arms may be between two countries or on a regional basis of a worldwide basis. Then second one is arms limitation, refers to agreement between two or more countries, which is designed to limit the types of weapons that had to be used and their impact to prevent its accidental outbreak. Then it also refers to arms restraint, so where the agreements between two or more countries, which will restrict the sale of arms and military technology to the other countries. So after Treaty of Taralico, we have also read NPT. So NPT was signed in Washington, London, 1968, signed by and also ratified by them. So it regulated the acquisition of nuclear weapons. These countries had tested the nuclear weapons before 1967. They were allowed to keep their nuclear weapons, but those that did not have had any weapons, they were asked to give up their right to acquire. So the states are also very critical of this NPT as it discriminates the nuclear haves and the nuclear have-nots. And also, India did not sign and raise any objections as it is against the limitations on its right to develop nuclear technology even for peaceful purposes. So, India also wants to keep its option to manufacture a bomb because China already possesses nuclear weapons. And also Pakistan also likely to manufacture nuclear weapons. Now, if India had probably joined NPT, then they would not be in a position to acquire any new weapons, right? So this would be at a very risk to such a huge country like us. Then India so Pakistan also refused to sign the treaty. Then Seabed Treaty of 1971. So what happens in Seabed Treaty is that this bans the use of nuclear weapons on the seabed beyond a 12-mile coastal limit. So this is rather basically to prevent the introduction of this international conflict and the nuclear weapons in areas free of them like the seabed, ocean, all those things. Then strategic arms limitation talks, which is SALT 1. It was signed in 1974. So SALT 1 is nothing but an interim nuclear arms limitation treaty. So this had gone for like 5 years, and anti-ballistic defenses of powers were limited to and have ballistic missiles were frozen. In 1974, they signed another agreement which is said to be valid until 1985. So under this treaty, around 2,400 each on intergovernmental missiles, submarine launch missiles, and the bombers, and the limit of 1,300 missiles each that can be armed with multiple and independently targeted re-entry vehicles were imposed. So this in a way slowed the arms race in strategic ballistic missiles with the nuclear warhead. Now, another such treaty is Anti-Ballistic Treaty, ABM Treaty in 1972 between USA and USSR. This is also bilateral treaty. So they have agreed to each have only two ABM deployment areas. And in 1974, this was signed another agreement and which is held to be in place until 1985. Then CTBT is in 2006. So CTBT is a legally binding treaty. This bans all nuclear weapons testing. India also opposed that it is unequal and this should be removed of violation. So the American during the meet during the presidential debate, this was also brought into picture. So the American Senate also rejected this treaty. The next one is SORT. SORT happened in 2002. Now, what is SORT? Strategic Offensive Reduction Treaty. So this is basically to reduce the deployed warheads. So this is also again a bilateral treaty. Then Convention on Cluster Munitions, December 2008. This had led for the prohibition and a framework for action. So this addresses the humanitarian consequences of civilians by cluster munitions. Then START 2010. So START is nothing but New Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. So this is also bilateral. START is also signed between USA and Russia, basically within the central standards and on further reduction and limitation of offensive arms by 2018. Then Arms Trade Treaty in 2013. So this kind of establishes a common perspective on international standard were regulating the international trade in conventional arms and seek to prevent and eradicate the illicit trade in conventional arms and prevent their diversion. So this is not just a reduction, but also what happens to those weapons once they are reduced. So they should not be diverted or to be misused by any of the rogue states. Then Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons 2017. So what happens in this treaty is it prohibits the use, threat, development, production, manufacturing, acquisition, possession, stockpiling, transfer, stationing, installment of any nuclear weapons or assistance with any prohibited activities. So this is how the nuclear proliferation has undergone. So in this lecture, we have read that the how it is important to maintain peace and security and to control the arms in international space in a way so that this could be managed for a better uh, international space and the different types of securities like traditional and traditional security and the human security, non-traditional security, so and the strategic security. So all these things has been an important notion in international space in terms of maintaining this peace and security. Like how do you control this peace or enable security to any member country? From the other country would be seen in terms of weapons that they accumulate. Okay, so then it would eventually lead to arms race where the countries are busy to balance themselves. Let's suppose I have, as a country A will have four weapons. Then if there are only three weapons with country B, then they would think that uh, it is impartial. So what they would ask for is they should give up either both the countries give up all their weapons or slowly give up their notion for arms race so that the destruction if they think that if any nuclear weapon could cause uh, like enormous amount of destruction, then the countries can ask for destroying or of such nuclear weapon where the destruction could be very huge. So this is how the security is also very important. And the treaties that have been signed in arms race or the disarmament is also very important because You have to remember them forever. Then you can understand how the international, how in international space the tactics have changed over a period, and how the world resonated itself or refurbished itself in order to protect or in order to stop the destruction, uh, realizing that the countries are equally powerful. So they have realized that if there's any warlike situation or if there's an actual war going on between two powerful nations, then the destruction would cause both the nations, like very huge destruction will happen. So in spite of any one of the nation winning the war, but as they are equally powerful nations, and the destruction amount of destruction the other any one of the country would have would be unimaginable. So that's why the treaties are put in place. So the disarmament is also very important. So this disarmament is done through certain treaties. You can see in Hague Conference, and also some of the places where it failed enormously can also be seen in Treaty of Versailles, then League of Nations, Washington Naval Conference, Geneva Protocol, World Disarmament Conference, then Power 4 Declaration of the four nations, then establishment of atomic energy commissions, then Boric Plan, then Gromyko Plan, then Commission on Conventional Armament. So all these things, then Disarmament Commission by USA, sorry, UN, then Atoms for Peace Plan, then Open Skies Agreement of the Proposal. This is basically a Geneva Summit happened in Geneva. Then America, what did America do? It proposed inspection of air of Soviet and US territory. So this had been failed. So these are all very different than Zapaki plan 1958, basically to establishments of denuclearized zones. Okay. So then biological weapon conventions, like the biological weapons, we know how destructive the biological weapons, which could lead to a wave of destruction all over the world, even though the countries are fighting, or the member countries are fighting, or some of the nations stayed away from it. Nothing could be stopped if the destruction could be of a biological weapon. So why do you think that there has been only no biological warfare is due to because of this treaty? That they have suspected that if countries have really stepped down to do the biological warfare, then the destruction would be unimaginable. So that's why they have come up with this. Then arms control, all the treaties you should remember: Hotline, Outer Space, Talaliko, then Pelindaba, NPT, then CTBT, then SALT 1, SALT 2, then ABM, then INF, then SORT, then New Start in 2010. This is an signed agreement between USA and Russia with the central standards on further reduction of limitation of arms, offensive arms. Then Treaty of 2013, then Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons 2017. So all these things are very important for you to understand international peace, security, disarmament, and arms race. So this chapter is very important, although it has provided for how the Cold War, like earlier lectures, we have understood that how the Cold War had possibly led to the arms race, but they were also the countries have realized the destruction that it would cause, and they came up with a certain treaties to curb or stop this. Uh, the powerful countries from going to war, but eventually that did not stop any sort of arms race, because this arms race notion had spread to the third world or the global south, where the newly decolonized economies, the newly formed uh, independent states, sovereign states, have been falling into this trap of arms race, where they instead of focusing on from developing their nation from the notion of the uh, what can we say, from the notion of destruction from the colonial powers, but they rather fell into this trap of accumulating nuclear weapons, accumulating arms race. So the developmental functions were kind of stalled. So this is how the things were not same for the powerful zones and the third world countries. So this is all for today. If there's a question, there would be separate questions. They might ask you what is SALT 1, what is SALT 2. They might ask you what is PTBT or Limited Test Ban Treaty, or what is NPT, what is CTBT, or what is Biological Weapons Convention, or what is Chemical Weapons Convention, or what different types of securities and various notions in maintaining the warlike situation, or decreasing the tension among the states, and explain weapons of mass destruction, or how has been the treaties that tried to stall the arms race. Then you have to explain all the arms race treaties, then various disarmament programs, then failures of disarmament programs. All these things you have to be very aware of, and to understand why the international space is as such. So this is all for today. I hope you understood all the lectures. Then, if not, please go through all the lectures where I've covered the whole, uh, all the 12 lectures in the internet, in the YouTube, and with possible PPTs. So, do try to make notes and revise them daily so that you'll have an idea of what to write uh, in your semester examinations. So, this is all for today, and I hope you all have understood all the lectures all these days. And I'm looking forward to have, uh, I mean, like your better understanding of the subject and your analysis on how the international space has been working with changing dynamics in the world in current phase. So that's all for today, and all the best for your semester exams. And do make notes, then you can write better answers. Otherwise, it is very difficult. Although you can write general evaluation of the things, but you have to subside them with the certain treaties, which would give weightage to your answers and help the examiner know that how you had related the your analysis based on the already existing treaties. So that's all for today. See you all again. Then see you all again, and all the best for your NSEM exams also, if possibly soon, and make answers for everything. These slides are also important for preparing for any competitive exams. So please go through all the lectures that we have went through. I've explained all certain topics possibly related to international relations. So that's all for today. See you again.